Defense News. It's proudly sponsored by Navy Federal Credit Union. If you're a member of our nation's armed forces, the Department of Defense, or if your family is, we'd be proud to serve you too.
Welcome to Defense News Weekly. I'm Andrea Scott. In a special episode this week, we celebrate the best our military has to offer with our Service Members of the Year awards. From a soldier saving lives in combat to a sailor saving lives at home, and each branch in between. We start first in the Army. Major Nicholas Dockery is known for his ground combat leadership, and that's backed up by 2 Silver Stars. This year, Military Times honored Major Dockery with the Soldier of the Year award.
Seven Delta, confirm you have eyes on.
Cover fire! Everything's exacerbated. Minutes feel like seconds, and seconds feel instantaneous. Tackling Sergeant Mitchell from a grenade that exploded within seconds. That is one of 3 moments in that day that will forever be ingrained. My name is Major Nicholas Dockery, and I am in U.S. Army Special Forces. I'm proud to be part of an organization that has done so much for our national security and that continues to train security forces all across the globe. In 2012, I was assigned to the 4th Infantry Division in Fort Carlson, Colorado. I was almost immediately forward deployed to Kunar Province, Afghanistan, where I met a very well-seasoned platoon that had already seen 2 to 3 months of heavy, intense fighting in Kunar. There became a security gap in a place called Copley Province, Afghanistan. The majority of our adjacent units had already left the area, and it put us at an incredibly vulnerable position. My forward observer and I got the radio call that they needed immediate reinforcement, and he and I sprinted across this open field to link up with Sergeant Mitchell and his element. When I arrived, Sergeant Mitchell was in a standoff with a machine gunner. Another team leader informed me that they were completely surrounded and running low on ammunition, and had sustained a urgently wounded U.S. soldier who needed immediate medical attention.
So in the compound, it's just a small open area, kind of like the one behind us, and then a whole group of buildings all connected to make one big building, I guess, and then just doors. And Nick grabbed myself and the other NCO, and he just walked straight up to this door and boots this thing in and goes straight into clearing the rooms. And before we could make a decision whether to go right or left, there was another machine gun laying down fire on top of us. And at some point, I didn't see it, Nick did, a grenade comes up over the wall.
I felt a vibration in the ground, and then I saw an object laying directly in front of him.
And at that point, out of nowhere, I'm still holding my Mark 48, and he grabs me and rolls over.
And I tackled him and slammed him behind the door exactly as it exploded. The situation only got more intense after that. I realized I was missing Sergeant Jack Hansborough. When I went back into the alleyway, Sergeant Hansborough was completely unconscious. I presumed that he had passed, and 2 enemy fighters were trying to drag him away. And I was fortunate enough to close with and eliminate those 2, and with the assistance of Sergeant Mitchell, we dragged Sergeant Hansborough back to cover. He wasn't breathing or conscious. That's when I started life-saving aid on him. He started coughing profusely, which was an elation of joy to know that he was alive. It was truly a harrowing situation.
I didn't think anyone would ever do that. You see those things in the movies, but you never actually see it happen. I got to see it happen, and from that point on, he was not just my LT, not just my platoon leader. That was my friend.
I was thankful that they had lived, but I felt an immense amount of guilt for having their lives permanently changed. I must have had 1,000 nightmares. I don't think I ever I absolutely love being a Special Forces officer. I'm immensely proud of it. I'll continue to serve as long as the Army will allow me to serve, and I'm thankful for the opportunities I've had. I think it is truly an organization that allows you to come from very humble beginnings that I came from and achieve things that you never would have thought of in any other capacity.
Thanks, Major Dockery. Our Airman of the Year story also takes place in Afghanistan. The evacuation of U.S. service members and allied civilians from Afghanistan in 2021 was a dangerous mission. As troops exited the country, refugees flooded Kabul airport. Senior Airman Duncan Copley was there and helped lead a team through multiple evacuation sorties, even when the report came in that a bomb might have been smuggled on board.
To serve my country, it means looking out for those around me, giving back what I can, and doing the most that I can for everybody else. Being in that moment, waiting to go into Kabul for what we were told was probably one of the last few times, it was scary. There was a lot of tension.
The chaos in Afghanistan as thousands crowded onto the tarmac in a desperate attempt to get away from the Taliban.
I was wondering what cargo we were getting, if we were having passengers, if there was anybody who was hurt that we might need to help take care of, if we needed medical personnel out on board with us. So we were just doing it a few people at a time, making sure like families were together and that everyone was seated where they needed to be. So we called up to Tower and we told Tower our final head count, and they told us to stand by, which is pretty normal for out there. Like that was normal operations. And after a little while went by, told us that there may be a situation on board, and that a Marine Corps security personnel team was going to come out to the aircraft, and we're just supposed to hang tight until then. A few minutes later, they told us that we should open up the door and ramp and deplane people to try to alleviate the situation because there was a possible bomb threat on board. Very surreal, you don't expect that to happen to you. And I knew that I had to do my job first to make sure that everything went flawlessly. We had to work fast, effectively and efficiently to get everybody off, and that's when my training took over. We're talking with the Marine Corps security team out there, and they were doing a thorough search of the aircraft, made sure everything was clear, and as a crew we elected to re-upload everybody and bring everybody back because their lives were more important overall, and taking that chance was worth it. It's definitely very scary, very real. It's a hard situation to go through. You just can't explain any situation like that. It was so wholesome being able to see all of them and knowing that I was back. It was monumental. Looking back at Kabul and Operation Allies Refuge, definitely felt like we achieved some great things. It was the biggest airlift in history. I hope to set the example of hard work pays off. If you really hone your craft and learn what you can, you're gonna do great things.
Do you know someone who should be nominated as a Service Member of the Year for 2023? If so, nominate them at servicemembersoftheyear.org. When we return, we learn how one Coast Guardsman saved lives at sea. In 2021, Coast Guard Sector San Diego responded to a report of a migrant vessel adrift in the ocean, 108 miles from shore. A cutter was on site, but 12-foot seas and high winds prevented that crew from deploying a smaller boat. Coast Guard Petty Officer 2nd Class Josh Carlson swam to the vessel to help, and what followed next led to his nomination for this year's awards. Here's more on this heroic coastie.
After an hour, the adrenaline's definitely starting to wear off, and you're starting to feel the effects of how hard you're working, but that's why we train. When we push ourselves to the limit to where we're no stranger to that feeling. My name is Josh Carlson. I'm an aviation survival technician, 2nd class. I'm a Coast Guard helicopter rescue swimmer. It's the best job in the world. What makes this job unique from other jobs in the Coast Guard has got to be the community that I work with. It's a very small community, the Coast Guard rescue swimmers. There's only about 300 active duty. It's a tight-knit community. We all have that core thing in common where we're willing to put our lives on the line and jump out of helicopters into the ocean to save other people. So I got on duty. There was a low pressure front rolling through. The clouds were coming in. It was getting pretty nasty out. I walk in and the off-going crew has already been launched. on another case, so they're not even there, and there's just like a buzz going around. There's this aura that you know something's gonna happen, and the alarm goes off.
We were informed that there was a migrant vessel adrift roughly 100-something miles northwest of San Diego with about 21 people on board. Myself, the other pilot, and the flight mechanic, we all talked with Josh in determining the best way to retrieve these survivors, recognizing that it was an unusual situation.
The boat's gonna be in the surf, and it's probably gonna capsize or break apart, and then you have people on board that are fatigued, that are cold. These people are soaking wet. They've been out there for a couple of days. Death was absolutely a possibility if these people didn't get rescued that night. The flight mech slides the door open, wind and rain's blowing in the door. It's just extreme focus. It's game time. You're not thinking about what you got going on at home or what you got going on at work. You're just thinking about the next 5 seconds in front of your face. It's pure adrenaline. I get in the water, I disconnect, and I swim over to the boat, probably about 40 yards of the boat, pull myself up onto it, and there's 21 migrants on this boat, freezing cold. I told them I'm gonna take each person one at a time off the boat. We're gonna go into the water. I'm gonna hoist them up in the basket, and then I'm gonna come back and get each one of you off one by one by one. There's one female on board. She's gonna go first. She's got a life jacket on, but she's been out there for 3 days. The last thing she wants to do is get into the frigid Pacific Ocean. And I'm telling her to calm down and stay calm, it's okay. And while I'm putting her in the basket, I feel a tug on my leg and something tightening around my back. And I look underwater and I can see the cable going around the back of the basket, around the back of me, and going back up to the helicopter. So I'm like in the bite of the line right there. Whatever's wrapped in that cable is either getting seriously messed up or it's coming apart. In a sea state like that, we're talking 12 to 15 footers. It only takes a second before you lose sight of that cable. Get untangled the cable, give the thumbs up. They hoisted her up after that. I let go of the basket and they bring her in the cabin. After we hoisted that one person, I said one, like it was a rep in a workout. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, we got 20 more people, but this is everything we train for. So between each hoist, I would drift so far away from this boat because of the sea state, the wind, and by the time I had hoisted the survivor, I can't even see the boat. It's pitch black outside. The helicopter would have to move back in. I'd have to hook up, and they'd have to pick me up and relocate me back to the vessel. We got the rest of the people after that. I got in the water at 11:45, and I didn't get hoisted back in the cabin until 1:15 in the morning. I immediately started triaging the patients, trying to take care of them until we got back on deck. The look on their face was very rewarding. It was a good feeling. This job it's really unpredictable. It's really exciting. It's the most rewarding job you could ever hope to have. It's so worth it. I was really proud of my crew. Without them, I wouldn't have been able to do anything I did that night. I'm honored to get this nomination. When I receive this award, I don't hang it up in my house like it's, it belongs to me. I'm gonna put it in the shop, and I'm bringing this one back for us.
So far, we've had heroes on deployment and back at home. If you know someone who should be recognized for next year, you can nominate them at servicemembersoftheyear.org. When we return, we hear the story of a skilled Marine pilot.
'Tis the season for online shopping. It's easy, convenient, and saves a huge amount of time and stress. The only drawback? Scammers. They can ruin the holidays not just by stealing your money, but your identity too. But with a little vigilance, you've got the power to stop scammers in their tracks. The two most known types of scams during the holidays are non-delivery and non-payment crimes. So whether you're buying a gift or selling online, always remember to practice cybersecurity awareness. It's important to know who you're buying from or selling to make sure your money goes where it should and that you're getting what you're paying for. Check the website carefully to make sure it's legitimate and secure. If it's your first time buying from the vendor, read their reviews. And if you're selling, avoid buyers who request your personal information before purchasing. And don't send money to someone you don't know or trust. Lastly, the best way to avoid phishing scams is by not clicking on links or attachments you get in emails or social media. Bottom line, keep your wits and personal info about you at all times and you'll be just fine. And have yourself some merry holiday shopping.
Welcome back to this special episode of Defense News Weekly, where we're celebrating our Service Members of the Year. And now for our Leatherneck. Marines have to think fast, and that's exactly why Major Corey Jones is this year's Military Times Marine of the Year. Major Jones was piloting a KC-130J when his plane and an F-35B made contact in the air, severely damaging both aircraft. Jones was able to land his plane in a field, saving the lives of everyone on board. The F-35 pilot ejected safely as well. This year, Major Jones is Military Times' Marine of the Year.
LA Center, Raider 50 declaring emergency mid-air collision with Bolt 930. We have 2 engines out. We're leaking fuel and might be on fire, and an emergency descent at this time. Raider 50.
There was an explosion, and that's when my heart stops. I'm like, okay, we're in an uncontrollable situation. There's a fire on the right wing. I can't climb, and I can't turn back to the airfield. The whole way down, it's just stall, stall, stall.
You got a plume of black smoke on the ground in that MOA. So there's at least 1 aircraft down, it looks like.
I'm Major Corey Jones with the United States Marine Corps, and I am a KC-130J aircraft commander and instructor. So I chose to be a pilot just purely because it's exhilarating. I like adrenaline-seeking activities, and being a pilot I thought could be no better activity for that, and it also gives me the opportunity to support the Marines and other services. On September 29th, it started as just another normal day, standard join up, nothing out of the ordinary. We had to refuel 1 plane at a time. We refueled the first F-35 on the left. Once he was complete with refueling, moved him over to the right, which is our standard procedure. Before we could react, we were impacted on the right-hand side by that F-35. There was an explosion on the airplane when he hit the fuel tank. The propellers have been sheared off the front of the engines. It's extremely loud in the cockpit. You hear a lot of wind noise. Every master warning and master caution is going off. There's lights flashing. And I start trying to talk to the other pilot and realize I can't talk to him because all of our headsets have been thrown off in the collision. There's definitely emotions that are going through my mind. Having very close friends that were involved in a C-130 mishap in December of 2018, all crew on that were killed. My first reaction after the impact is, I can't believe this is happening to me too. My first son, having been born a few weeks prior, he and my wife, my whole family are going through my mind immediately. Our gunnery sergeant called out to us and said, there's a fire on the right wing. Where that fire was located, we have no fire suppression capability on the airplane to put it out. We're typically taught that a wing fire, you could have anywhere from 30 to 45 seconds of structural integrity of the wing before it would separate from the aircraft. I've got the number 2 engine all the way up as hard as it'll go. I've got the number 1 engine almost as hard as it'll go. And the airspeed's still coming off of the airplane. I can't climb and I can't turn back to the airfield. So what we got's what we got out here off the nose. So we pick a field. We recovered, which is pretty unusual to be able to recover from. But we recovered from being in that condition in the last 30 seconds. The whole way down, it's just stall, 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 stall. I've never been trained to have an aircraft, hit me and lose 2 engines, have a fire, have a rapid decompression, have our landing gear removed from the airplane, and conduct a gear up landing in a field all on the same flight. Some of those aspects were introduced during training, but not all compounded together. But we fought from the time we were impacted until we got down into that farmer's field. We fought for our lives the whole way down. We all met up on the road, hugged each other, thanked each other, and then we waited. I can't believe that we just walked away from it. That was kind of the feeling. Extremely grateful, and everybody did a phenomenal job. It wouldn't be without each of them that I would be sitting here talking to you. This award really is a crew award. It should be Marines, plural, of the year, because there were 8 of us on that crew that day, and without all 8 of us doing our job, none of us would be here.
Stay with us. After the break, we hear from our Sailor of the Year. Welcome back. Petty Officer First Class Cale Foy isn't one to shy away from danger when it comes to helping others. In May 2021, when a boat capsized near San Diego, throwing more than 30 passengers into the water, Foy acted on instinct and years of training. Running half a mile to reach the beach and swimming out to the boat, Foy became a one-man rescue force until backup could arrive, offering nearly 2 hours of medical assistance. Here's the story behind the action that earned Petty Officer Foy the title of Military Times Sailor of the Year.
To serve has a lot of definitions, but to serve your country, I believe, only has one. That's to step up when it's needed and take care of what you need to for the country. It's not only for my family, it's not only for your family, it's for everybody that lives in the United States of America. My name is Cale Foy, AWS-1, United States Navy. My job in the Navy is an MH-60 Sierra crew chief, air crewman, and a rescue swimmer. I chose the Navy because it looked fun. The recruiter really got me when he said, you're able to jump out of a helicopter and go save a life. I'm like, you had me at jump out of a helicopter, you know? Right now, I'm an instructor at a MH-60 Sierra Fleet Replacement Air Crew Squadron. It's a mouthful. But my job right now is to send the best air crewmen that we can to the Navy right now. And this is their last stepping stone before they hit it. So I want to make sure that that standard is set and they're hitting that standard. And it becomes a very, very tight-knit family. There's not many of us in the Navy. We do PT on our own. We don't just do the normal required PT on the daily. We come out super early in the mornings because sometimes our flight schedule is too demanding. It doesn't allow us to work out at a specific regime. So if we got to come out earlier, we'll come out earlier as a group. July 13th is one for the history books, especially for the Navy. The USS Bar Harbor Shard caught fire, and it just became out of control to where no one was able to go into the hole to fight it because it was too hot. The Navy called upon us, since we're used to dropping water, usually in the forestry type situation, but this time it was on a big metal hole. Since it was something that was never done before, there was a lot of structure within the ship hull itself that we really had to maneuver around. Along with that, fighting the debris and the smoke that was coming up, and just fumes were everywhere. So whatever we fly through, we're breathing it. I remember nasty metal, like just hardcore, like as if I was chewing on a piece of copper. I'll never forget that taste. It didn't really hit me until I got on top and I'm looking straight down, and I could probably see about 5 to 8 just decks, just a hole going right through it. And all you can see is just that bright orange amber color, and it's just like, whoa. That was the first time in Navy history that the helicopters ever put out a fire on a ship. I think that's pretty awesome. The service never does stop. It could be something as simple as driving home and you see someone pulled off to the side of the road that needs help. I'm gonna be the one to help them out. If it's someone in trouble in the water at the beach, I guarantee you we're gonna be the ones jumping in to go help somebody out. That's not just the rescue swimmer specifically, that's for all military. I believe that in my heart that everyone is willing to help each other out. It was May 2nd. We were out on a hike with my family. That's how we always start our Sundays. We just noticed a boat kind of off in the distance. And then all of a sudden my wife looks back and she says, oh my God, there's people on that boat. And I look back and sure enough, the boat hit the rocks and people are starting to bellow out of it now. And at that point, like, it just kicked in. All my rescue swimmer training that I've done for the United States Navy was ready to go. We hop in the water initially, fuel's everywhere in the water, and oil slicks everywhere, there's debris everywhere. We had a couple survivors in sight of us. We brought everybody back to a fuselage part of the ship. Kind of like the cabin cuddy, it was still barely afloat, semi-buoyant, enough to get on, essentially, to not drown. I just kept swimming, going to grab other people. And by then, one of the lifeguard boats came out from up north, and the jet skis kind of took over at that point. I did what I felt like I had to do that specific day, and that Navy training kicked in, and there was nothing that was going to stop me from doing it. I have the best job in the Navy. Being a United States Navy rescue swimmer is just an amazing feeling. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow, or next week, or the next year. There's a reason why we're training, and our job is to be in the Navy and to be the best sailor you possibly can be, so let's do it.
And that's all we have time for in this special episode. Don't forget, nominations are open for the 2023 Military Times Service Members of the Year Awards. So if you know someone who deserves the honor, please visit servicemembersoftheyear.org. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.